periodically it's common for us to get a series of people who think that the best case scenario is for them to talk to the listing agent directly about a home and about their purchase or their sale of a home. It's not impossible to do it that way, and we do handle a certain number of transactions that way where we're the listing agent, and we also work with the buyer on a particular home sale. But we actually only represent one party or the other. It's not possible, in my opinion, for somebody to advocate for both the buyer and the seller simultaneously. And so typically in a transaction, you're going to have a buyer's agent and a listing agent. If you're out there trying to reach out to listing agents directly on every single property that you're trying to look at or trying to consider, there are a couple of key things to know. Number one, the listing agent is always going to represent the seller unless they specify in writing and go through a bunch of hoops specifying that that's not the case. They've already signed a document in order to get the listing that says they're going to represent the seller in almost every case. The second thing is there's no difference in the commission whether you're working with a listing agent directly or whether you're working with a buyer's agent who's coming to the table with you. The listing agent gets a commission commitment from the seller when they list the property. They publish that in the multiple listing service unless you're dealing with a for sale by owner or potentially in some weird cases a builder scenario directly where a property is not listed. The property is going to be published in the MLS. The buyer's agent is going to be able to see what commission is being offered or published, and they can assure you that they're being compensated through the listing process directly. As a home buyer, typically the commission is paid by the seller on the transaction. So there's no tangible cost to you typically up front to work with a buyer's agent, and you're typically going to get much better representation if you have somebody who is committed on paper to working with you and to representing your best interests as opposed to representing the interest of the seller. So while we understand the mentality that a listing agent might be the right approach, in most cases you're going to be much better served. It's going to be much easier to look at properties, and you're going to end up with a much stronger financial advocate if you choose to work with a buyer's agent on a transaction.